Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Before we begin with Draco's update, we'd like to share an important clip featuring a very powerful conversation between Scott Beckstead and Paul Mueller, two leading voices in the fight for animal justice. Now, Scott Beckstead is a respected attorney, law professor, and nationally known animal welfare advocate. He's spent decades working to reform animal laws and protect companion animals from systematic cruelty and neglect. His legal expertise and passion has made him a key figure in challenging policies that enable the unnecessary killing of pets. Paul Mueller is a former television news anchor who transitioned into a full-time animal rights advocate after witnessing the injustices that often go unreported. His work today focuses on raising awareness about the silent epidemic of dogs killed by law enforcement, often with little to no accountability. In this clip, they shed light on the alarming number of dogs shot and killed by police every year in the United States, many of them family pets, many of them entirely avoidable tragedies. This context is crucial to understanding why Draco's case, like so many others, must not be ignored.
Did you say there's an epidemic in law enforcement killing dogs?
Yes, absolutely.
Has a dog ever killed a police officer on duty?
Never once.
And that's going back as far as,
As far as records have been kept, some of those are situations where you have a truly dangerous dog. The dog may be attacking people. There are circumstances when lethal force is called for. Right now, police officers in the United States are shooting around 10,000 dogs every year. And
it often seems to many as it's an automatic response to shoot the dog because they don't know, the officers claim, that what the dog is all about.
And yet all a police officer has to say is, I believed that my life was in danger, and under the doctrine of qualified immunity, and they are going to be shielded from any sort of liability for the death of that animal. That officer is going to be backed up by the agency that he or she works for. So some of these agencies actually have what I would call serial dog killers, officers who just have sort of developed a reputation. There's one large Midwestern city that I will not name that has an officer still on duty who at last count had shot and killed 24 dogs and never been held accountable for a single one of them. There has been obviously increased public awareness and growing outrage and concern every time we see one of these cases where a police officer shoots a dog that poses no threat. So it all comes down to training. In 2013, the state of Colorado, the Colorado legislature, passed a law that requires every law enforcement agency in the state of Colorado to provide training to its officers about how to engage with dogs, how to handle confrontations with dogs, and the emphasis is on using non-lethal means to interact with that dog so that you don't have these situations where people have their family pet killed. So many of these situations could easily be resolved with some basic training, and that's what this Colorado law does. And I would love to see more states adopt that legislation.
So do we know a percentage-wise of how many departments across the country have trained their officers or to work with dogs at a situation?
Yes, and that is happening more and more. And we have seen more and more programs to train officers on how to engage with dogs. More and more agencies are requiring that their officers have that training. Whereas these dog shooting cases can really divide communities, can turn communities against their law enforcement officers. So many times we hear the official version from the law enforcement officer or agency saying, no, this is what happened. And then here come ordinary citizens saying, actually, officer, I got you right here on my cell phone, and the narrative of the law enforcement is completely debunked. Without the cell phone, a lot of these terrible things that happen would be swept under the rug.
Now, with that important perspective in mind, let's talk about Draco. On April 13th, 2025 at 10:46 a.m., a routine call about loose cows in Eloise, Florida turned into a traumatic nightmare for one family and their dog Draco. Keep in mind, there is no dash cams, there is no body cams at all of the incident because this department does not believe in accountability or transparency and does not issue their deputies the proper equipment to do their job, or the training, obviously. Two deputies from the Polk County Sheriff's Office arrived on scene. One named Deputy Ashley Odom reportedly panicked upon seeing Draco, an elderly family-owned bulldog mix, and within seconds had her hand on her gun. As Draco approached, being friendly and happy, the deputy began kicking at him. According to witnesses, Draco never touched her. In a reckless display of force, she discharged her firearm, shooting herself in the leg. In the chaos, Odom continued firing, unleashing 6 or more rounds in front of over 15 children and family members, using them as a backstop, who had just gathered to see the cows. Most of these children under the age of 14. Well, one of those bullets struck Draco in his lower back as he was retreating. He collapsed in pain and was caged without immediate medical care. He would not be allowed emergency treatment until nearly 1 p.m. That is over 2 hours later. Draco's injuries were catastrophic. He underwent life-saving surgery at Veterinary Healthcare Associates in Winter Haven, which involved the removal of his kidney, spleen, genitals, and diaphragm repair. The veterinary bill reached $11,000. But rather than accountability, the Polk County Sheriff's Office responded with retaliation. Just days later, they issued Draco's owner a $328 citation for roaming and lack of a tag, a petty, vindictive attempt to justify the shooting and silence the outcry. This was not just a tragic mistake, it was a violent overreaction and a failed cover up. Thanks to the community's support, $3,400 was raised to help with Draco's vet care, and the remaining costs were generously covered by the veterinary team. Draco is now recovering at home, but the trauma remains. The bullet still lodged inside him. Draco is finally back home with his family, surrounded by love, comfort, and care. But while his return home marks a hopeful step forward, he still faces a long and difficult road to recovery. He remains on medication for pain and infection, and the emotional toll on both Draco and his family is still very raw. Again, one of the bullets remains lodged inside him, serving as a constant reminder of the violence he survived. Despite everything, Draco's spirit is strong, and his family is doing everything they can to support his healing. They are grateful for the overwhelming support from the community, but they know the fight for accountability and justice is just beginning. Now, I'd also like to bring up why the fake stream media was calling Draco a charging pit bull. Draco is not a pit bull. He's a full-blooded bulldog, a senior dog who has lived peacefully with children, other pets, and his family for years. He was not aggressive, and multiple eyewitnesses confirmed he never touched the deputy. So why are some media outlets framing him as a threat? The dangerous narrative seems deliberately misleading, and the question must be asked: who is feeding this false information to the press? All signs point to the Polk County Sheriff's Department, the very agency responsible for shooting Draco and issuing a retaliatory citation to his family just days later. Labeling Draco as a charging pit bull not only misrepresents the truth, but it plays into a long-standing biases designed to justify violence after the fact. We've seen this pattern before. Law enforcement agencies trying to protect their image by shifting blame onto the voiceless victims, especially when those victims are animals. Draco is not a pit bull. He's not aggressive. He was the victim. So, supporters, in conclusion, we demand transparency, we demand accountability, and we will not let this story be twisted. What are your thoughts on this case? Was Odom justified in her use of force? Or was this just another case of a scared, reckless, and out of control state actor that instead of de escalating the situation, decided to use lethal force against a non aggressive dog? Let us know in the comments, and thanks for watching.
No big, I feel like Pac. I shoot a shot. I'm coming in hot.